So Marvel is just not performing. Marvel is in some serious trouble, and in turn putting Disney as a whole in some serious trouble, and they really need Star Wars to come back and save them right now, or it's not going to be good. So the debate has been going on forever. What is better? What makes more money? What is more lucrative? Star Wars or Marvel? What has more fans? And I would say right now, it's probably leaning towards Marvel. I would say that Marvel probably has a lot more casual viewers than Star Wars does, because from a casual perspective, Star Wars is a lot more intimidating than Marvel to get into. It just is. Marvel is very surface level. Marvel, you can just watch an Avengers movie and totally understand what's going on. You can step into Endgame. I've had friends that went and watched Endgame as their first MCU movie, and they just stepped in there and they picked up pretty fast what's going on. Obviously, you're going to enjoy the movie a lot more if you've seen all the other movies, because you'll pick up on the little nuances, on the little hints at previous movies. But you can pretty much just walk into a theater, watch an Avengers movie, and understand what's going on. But if you walk into episode 9 of Star Wars, you're going to be like, what the hell is going on? Why is this person being called a Palpatine a big deal? Why is, Ben Solo not called Kylo Ren anymore? You're not going to understand what's going on. You're not going to understand why things are happening. That's just the way it is. And that's why, I love Star Wars, because it is a little bit complicated, because you do have to do your homework to understand it fully. You do have to do your homework to really, have emotional attachments. Cry when Luke Skywalker pops up in The Mandalorian. Why is that so special? Casual fans will not understand that. Yeah, they got excited when they saw Luke Skywalker pop up, but they will not understand why people got so emotional. They will not have the same reaction that I had, that you had, that a lot of other people, diehard fans out there had. With that being said, Star Wars, it seems like, is overthrowing Marvel, not only in fandom, because Star Wars is, I think with The Mandalorian getting a lot of those casual fans caught up in Star Wars, I think that they're going to overthrow them in fandom pretty soon. But also, it seems like Disney is going to need Star Wars very soon when it comes to the box office, because Marvel is just not cutting it. Black Widow crashes at box office, gets smoked by LeBron James' weak Space Jam movie. And if the MCU is crashing at the box office, I said that this makes max 500 million. It's not even looking like it's going to make 500 million. It's probably going to make like 350 to 400 or something like that. It's going to be bad. It's going to be real bad. But if the MCU movies, if Marvel movies, because there's Marvel movies out there like, Venom or Morbius is coming up very soon. Those movies aren't expected to do MCU movie numbers. If MCU movie numbers are not doing well, if Black Widow comes out and, people expected it to not do as well because of, what happened in 2020, but even the box office predictions were saying that it's going to do better than this because it's an MCU movie. This is the equivalent to a Skywalker Saga movie not doing well at the box office. Solo not doing well is kind of the equivalent to a Venom movie or, a Morbius movie not doing too well at the box office, kind of crashing. But if episode 9 were to make $500 million at the box office, that's kind of like what this is. Black Widow, while not being, one of the most popular characters in the MCU for obvious reasons, because she doesn't have superpowers in a world full of superheroes and supervillains, while she's not the most popular character in the MCU, it's still an MCU movie and it should be doing well. It should be making a lot of money for Marvel, for Disney. It seems like maybe Marvel fatigue is setting in, or maybe Black Widow is just not that popular of a character, or maybe it's just a combination of everything that happened in 2020, the thing that's still going on now. Maybe it's a combination of that and Black Widow not being that popular of a character and the Marvel fatigue setting in, and the god-awful advertising campaign, the god-awful promotional campaign that this movie went through. Because every single time I saw an ad for this movie, every single time I saw Scarlett Johansson or Kevin Feige or anyone else involved in this movie speaking about this movie, they told me over and over again that they do not want me watching this movie, that this movie is not being made for male consumption. This is a female-led, primarily female-consumed movie. So I never watched it. I will never watch it, most likely. Maybe sometime in the future I'll watch it whenever I'm extremely bored and there's nothing else to watch. But I have no interest at this time. Let's check out some of the numbers that are coming out from this Black Widow movie. The drop-off is absolutely insane. I was pretty pessimistic when it came to this movie. Even opening weekend, I was pretty pessimistic, and I got blown away. The numbers were crazy opening weekend, way better than I thought it would do. But now it's doing way worse than I thought it would do. So it seems like this direct to streaming, half theater release stuff is just not going to work out for these movies. According to the numbers, Black Widow only brought in $26.2 million in its second domestic weekend, getting beat by Space Jam: A New Legacy, which earned $31.6 million in its opening weekend. Black Widow previously earned $80.366 million in its domestic opening weekend, meaning the gross declined by an astounding 67%. And also, you can blame it on Black Widow being released on Disney Plus at the same time that it's released in theaters, but Space Jam was also released on HBO Max the same day it was released in theaters as well, so that's not really an excuse for that at all. To put that in perspective, the most recent Marvel Cinematic Universe entry before Black Widow was Spider-Man: Far From Home. That film only had a 51% decline from its opening weekend to its second weekend. It earned $92.5 million in its opening weekend and $45.3 million in its second weekend. However, that might not be the greatest comparison, given Spider-Man: Far From Home had a unique opening strategy back in 2019, where it released on Tuesday, July 2nd, to take advantage of the long July 4th weekend in the United States. Before Spider-Man: Far From Home, there was Avengers: Endgame. It earned $357.1 million in its opening weekend and $147.38 million in its second weekend, only a 59% drop. Even Captain Marvel had less of a drop than Black Widow. Captain Marvel earned $153.4 million in its opening weekend and fell off to $67.98 million in week 2, only a 56% decline. In fact, Black Widow now holds the title for largest percentage decline in box office gross between opening weekend and a film's second weekend in Marvel Cinematic history. You cannot say that it's just a 2020, what happened in 20, I can't say the word on YouTube if you haven't caught on, what happened in 2020 and kind of bleeding into 2021 as well. You can't blame it on that because it's a percentage decline. It's not numbers declined, it's a percentage decline. So it's scaled to the numbers that each movie are making. The percentage that it declined in the second weekend broke the record for the worst in the MCU history. That is not good. That is not a good sign, because as time went on, the MCU movies were getting more and more popular. The MCU movies were making more and more money. It seemed like, a few years ago, probably like 5-6 years ago, it wasn't a guarantee, maybe even less than that, maybe even like three years ago, it wasn't a guarantee that every single MCU movie would make $1 billion. But ever since like Infinity War, maybe a little bit before Infinity War, maybe like Ragnarok time, it just seemed like every single MCU movie was guaranteed $1 billion. If it didn't make $1 billion, that was a huge problem. That was a huge flop. And that is crazy to think about. Even Captain Marvel made $1 billion. We know why, though. They sandwiched the film in between Infinity War and Endgame. But even Captain Marvel made $1 billion, and nobody really liked that movie. So the fact that this movie is flopping so hard, the fact that instead of it continuing to go up percentage-wise, obviously the box office numbers aren't going to do well because of what's happening in the world right now. But percentage-wise, the fact that the MCU movies are not continuing to increase, but instead having a record low decrease, that says a lot. And I think that Disney, that Marvel and Star Wars is going to have to save Disney when it comes to their entertainment business, when it comes to Disney Plus especially, and I'll get to that in a second. But Spider-Man: Homecoming earned $117 million in its opening weekend and only $44.2 million in its second weekend. Ant-Man and the Wasp earned $75.8 million in its opening weekend and only $29 million in its second weekend. That record was previously held by both Spider-Man: Homecoming and Ant-Man and the Wasp, with both films having 62% declines from opening weekends to their second weekend. So yes, like I said, not a huge deal numbers-wise because of what's happening in the world right now, but percentage-wise, this is god-awful. This is really bad, not just for Black Widow, not just for the short term for Marvel and the MCU profits, but for the long term, this is a bad look long term. And also, we've been seeing this as well. Disney Plus hasn't added many new US subscribers in 2021, says report. And we also saw that report the other day that the subscriber numbers are actually very much down in 2021 on Disney Plus, and that most of the subscribers on Disney Plus are coming from markets like India, where they're paying 45 cents a month to subscribe to Disney Plus, whereas in US and other more established markets in India, you're paying about $8 a month to subscribe to Disney Plus. So those 45 cents a month aren't really amounting to much when it comes to profits for Disney Plus. They are in trouble right now, and the only thing that I can really think of on why that would be is because Marvel is the primary thing that's coming out on Disney Plus right now. Think about what's happened on Disney Plus recently. We've had WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, which I think probably did pretty well for Disney Plus. The show was kind of good. I had a lot of problems with it, but I'll probably talk about that in a different video. The show was kind of good. I think it brought in, decent stuff for Disney Plus. But then we had Bad Batch. We had Bad Batch for Star Wars. No one really cares about Bad Batch, especially the casual fans out there, the people that I'm talking about that will enjoy Marvel stuff. The casuals do not care about Bad Batch. And after they watch a couple episodes, even if they are a little bit intrigued by Bad Batch, they'll watch a couple episodes and realize that it's not for them. It's just not for the casuals. The Bad Batch is either for little kids, which I would say that it's probably more just towards the grown-ups that are really diehard, that are really sweaty. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that that's what the show is targeted towards. That's what Dave Filoni is. So he's making the show more towards people like him, more towards the sweaties, more towards the diehards that really love stuff like the Bad Batch. But the casuals aren't going to get intrigued by that show too often. So we've had WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, and then Bad Batch, one small Star Wars show. And now we have Black Widow, released on Disney Plus. It's not going to do much because Marvel seems like the interest in Marvel, especially on Disney Plus, is just not there. Whereas when you had The Mandalorian season 1 and 2 coming out, Disney Plus was booming. Disney Plus was releasing new numbers like every month, saying how they're on track, they're on pace to catch up to Netflix in the next couple of years. And now they just stopped releasing numbers. And they've even come out and said that they're not going to release any more numbers until they hit their next big milestone. So Star Wars needs to come back very strong with Book of Boba Fett. And in 2022, we all know that that's Star Wars year compared to 2021, which was Marvel's year 100%. 2022 is going to be a big year for Disney Plus, and if it's not, if Star Wars does for some reason flop, if some of these shows do get postponed to 2023, or some of these shows being canceled, similar to Rangers of the New Republic, which I don't think we'll ever see that show unless Gina Carano does come back, and even if we do see it, it'll probably be delayed a good bit. But if 2022 isn't a huge year for Disney Plus because of these Marvel or because of these Star Wars shows, which I think it will be, if it's not, Disney Plus may be in some major trouble. But let me know what you guys think about Black Widow's huge flop at the box office. What do you think about Disney Plus kind of struggling right now because all that's coming out on Disney Plus is Marvel shows and not really much Star Wars? What do you think? Can Star Wars come back and save Disney Plus? Let me know what you think in the comments. But if you did enjoy this video, please leave a like on the video. It really does help the channel out a lot. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.